I thought I was so ready. Sorry, guys. Beginning. All right. So we are all here to cover growing your business with QR codes and literal window shopping. I'm host here with Seattle Made and Seattle Good Business Network. My name is Alexa Alamano. I'm owner of Bomi Waiter Jewelry here on Whidbey Island and innovator of the scan to shop method for literal window shopping. And go real quick, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in a minute, and we'll cover what exactly QR codes are, why you should be using them, how to create them, and I sort of a key list of tips of how you can grow your business with QR codes, what we really want to cover the most. And then we'll open it up to Q&A right after that. It's about me. I've been a jeweler for just over 13 years, and it's all handcrafted jewelry. We're a mom and pop operation, so basically a solopreneur. I've had awesome help in the past. Haley here in the audience has been my assistant in the past, so it's lovely to connect with you here. And then I've written a book about literal window shopping. It's called the Scan to Shop Solution, because we innovated this method here at our storefront late in 2020 after we opted to close our store and relocate to this tiny space and just use the space as a showroom with our windows set up to be able to do the modern idea of like a classy vending machine that you scan the QR code to be able to shop directly through our website, and then everything is made to order and picked up later. So that's me and how we came up with literal window shopping. Let's hop right into the meat of what we're here for. QR codes are quick response codes. Were invented in '94 by a Japanese auto industry and auto company called Denso Wave, and they became popular because of how much information you can put in a QR code, way more than you can put in a traditional UPC barcode. They've become more widespread because of recent improvements in iOS updates and Android updates that you can now scan a QR code with the camera on your phone if you have an up-to-date iOS. So you don't need a separate app to do it. You can do it just with the camera. So it makes it really simple to get directly to content without having to type in a URL or look it up. It makes it just really rapid fire access to the content you're looking for. So why use QR codes? Beyond the fact that it's super convenient, that people don't need to type in URLs, it's accurate because there's no typos involved. You can get them directly to the exact page on your website they're looking for. And QRs can actually improve your average order value. How do they do that? By being an omni-channel sales merchant, you're improving a trust value with your customers so they can access you through a storefront, through your website, and now with QR codes, it can improve in-store sales orders can go up by 4% and then online up to 10%. And this was found by the Harvard Business Review. So this isn't just like, I've had a good response. This is like a recorded data you can fall back on, that the more available you are as a business, the more trust you are with your customers and the more orders increase. So we all love to see more money in our bank accounts, right? All right, so how to create a QR code. It is a remarkably simple process, and we're just going to demystify it entirely so you have complete confidence you can walk away doing this today. So if you're going to screenshot anything, this is what you want. These are your eight steps in a bullet point list, and we'll go over the steps shortly. So selecting a QR code generator. There are plenty of free options online. You can also opt for paid accounts if you wanted to use a dynamic QR code. That's what you should consider for step number 2, is if you want a static code, which just leads to information that will never change. You download the QR code once, it leads to one exact website or pulls up one exact page of information. It will never change. You can make those for free. You can customize how they look, but you can't track how many times they're scanned or change them at all. So one and done. Versus dynamic QR codes, you have to create a paid account for it. Paid accounts are mostly under $20 unless you want to have hundreds of QR codes, then the accounts are more expensive. But it's a relatively inexpensive cost if you want to be able to track how successful, how frequently your QR codes are scanned, and if you want to be able to change them over time. So then you move on to choosing what content you're going to be promoting with your QR codes, whether it's directing to products on your website or different social media channels to grow your audiences, appointment booking sites, whatever you're going to be creating QR codes for, make it easy on yourself and collect those all into one place so you can do this all at once, because it's a time-consuming process that is made easier if you do it in a batch work. So you can do spreadsheets or open tabs, however you like to organize your thoughts. Just gather your information for when you want to sit down and make your QR codes. So now that you have your generator chosen and your content chosen, and if you're making static or dynamic QR codes, you want to copy and paste the information into the QR code generator site and customize how it looks. So you can have like the QR code you see on your screen, a basic black and white. That's the most frequently seen QRs, but you can customize the color. And if you want it to have more kind of rounded edges or different styles, if you want there to be a frame, a border around the QR code with any information that says like scan me or your website or put your logo on it, we'll take a look at all the different ways you can customize it now. So this is QR code generator. This is who I use with my paid account for dynamic codes. And on here, up here at the top, you're going to select what kind of content you're making a QR code for. So a basic URL, you want to have a virtual business card, just information you want to pop up, social medias, PDFs, the works, all kinds of content. So this field that I've highlighted is where you'll put your content. Down below, uploading any documents you need for it, excuse me. Next to that, if you want to create dynamic codes, you would toggle this on and be prompted to create an account for dynamic QR codes. And on the right, it gives you an example of what your code looks like before you've actually generated it and downloaded it. So here's where you would customize if you wanted it to have a frame, a border of information around it. If you wanted to customize the shape of the code or the colors, if you wanted to add your logo in the center of the code, that's where you'd add that too. And there's a couple of examples on the last page of this deck, so you can see sort of different looks of QR codes. Now we've taken a mini tour there. Let's move on with our steps. So you customize the look of it, you put all your content in there, you press download and generate. Be sure to actually pull out your phone and test your QR code to make sure it's landing exactly how you want it to before moving on. Just save yourself a headache and test it. Download the code and label it something you'll remember. If it's a Facebook or a product name, just label it. Otherwise it says like QR scan number and you'll never remember what each QR code is for. So rinse and repeat steps 3 through 7 for every QR code you need. And then move on to printing, sharing, and getting your QRs out in the world. So you can go the way we've taken with literal window shopping and put them in a display, put them on your promotional materials, and save yourself having to change things annually for calendar changes and scheduling. Just get them out there because you're making it anywhere you would put your URL. Put your QR code and put it out there in the world. This is a growing trend. I think I might have skipped over that certain payment providers are already adopting how to natively create QR codes. So like Shopify, Square, PayPal, they all have features that you can just generate a QR code through their service. You don't even have to bother with a separate website if you use them. It's a bonus for those providers. And that's all. Celebrate. That's all it takes. For once, there's a simple way to like enhance your business. And then a bonus step, if you opt for dynamic QR codes, absolutely be sure to track how they are performing over time. So we've had our setup in place for about 6 months now, so I can see where underperformers are sitting in our window, where the hot spots are, and to sort of utilize, like, I want to be moving this product, I want to put it in that place, and moving the underperformers out of rotation. So make sure you track what you've paid for. Okay, so now we're going to move on to how to actually use QR codes to grow your business. And I've put them out in tips by types of business. So retailers, restaurateurs, and service providers each have their own topic. And then sort of another group of ways that kind of cover all different bases. So for retailers, literal window shopping, I highly recommend this. If you have a storefront with windows and you have a website, just link your products that are on display from your window to your website and get people shopping online with you 24 hours a day. We did not expect how popular this would be in our small town with the median age of 57. So it is a popular trend with older people, even in small towns. This is a way you can catch sales any time of day. You can grow your email list. You can put a QR code right on your window to say, like, sign up for our email list. You get a discount. Whatever you do to prompt them to grow your email list so you can keep them in your marketing, do that. And then using QR codes to make customer service better, improve your customer service by creating like sizing guides or examples, fit guides, style guides, ways that you can make your in-person customer service a virtual experience. So help them understand how their clothes fit or how to style a collection without having to engage them directly. It's making a virtual sales assistant and just using a QR code to link to it, but it makes it so you get that extra service element included in your marketing, including in your packaging with orders, so that you're ingratiating yourself with your customers even more. Restaurateurs, direct to an online menu, so you can skip paper menus, not having to sanitize and wipe down menus between customers if you just include them on your table. And you can also go a step further and create independent menus for those with dietary restrictions. So if we're a gluten-free household, so going to a restaurant and having to like hunt down the little gluten-free indicators is kind of a pain and annoying. So making a separate menu that is like, there's our dietary restriction menu, you'll have happier customers opting this extra curation for them. Get more reviews on Google and Yelp by encouraging customers who have happy, full bellies to leave you a positive review right there at the table. I think everybody understands that Google reviews in particular are a huge boon to your website authority. So it's great. Every way you can get more reviews on your Google My Business page is really beneficial. And then something that Costco is currently working on incorporating into their take and make deli items are reheating instructions. Since it's complicated to have to squeeze a lot of information, you can just create a QR code with text-only information for reheating instructions. Since a lot of restaurants are also leaning into takeaway service, this makes it so they can really serve their food at home the way that you intended to as a restaurant. I know a lot of restaurant owners are frustrated to be making wonderful meals and then putting them in paper containers and having them be eaten 20 minutes later at the non-optimal temperature. So that sort of improves that step in the process. Let's go to service providers. So you can direct to a booking site for appointments. I do this. Currently our store hours are only by appointment or chance, so I am unavailable unless someone books with me. I use Square Appointments for my booking service, and I've had customers say it's easier than trying to book with their doctor. So positive reviews from customers on that experience. Using QR codes to update your marketing materials. So just your basic email me or your basic contact information can be a QR code that they can save rather than having to type it into their phones. So again, making it simple and easy for people to keep in contact with you. And then link to an online portfolio or review site where you can help instill trust with new clients by just giving them easy access to online reviews and your past work, so they know that you are the right person for them. And some more ways, even more ways to use QR codes, and this is sort of a general, I can kind of touch on all different types of businesses. So like growing your social media followings is a no-brainer. You want to stay in contact with them, so you stay top of mind. Driving traffic to your website not only gets them to potentially like sign up for your email list or make sales, but if you use Google retargeting or Facebook retargeting, remarketing, advertising, this grows your audience there. I know there's some changes with some of the iOS updates, but this still grows your remarketing, retargeting audience just by having people get to your website. Contactless payment, we all understand in 2021. Contactless payment, we all get it. For people that do live selling, you can create sizing guides and do QR codes. This is just a helpful thing to enhance the experience and ingratiate yourself more with your customers, but it makes it easier for them to understand how something that you're holding up will fit on their body. If you carry guest artist work in your restaurant or on your storefront, you can have a QR code that links directly to their information, so you're not getting disruptive questions about artwork that you don't know how to answer. And then the last one is a pretty interesting way to use it. You can either take traditional donations for if you're an art gallery or there's open spaces with sculpture parks here on Whidbey Island that use this as their pay-as-you-will donation collection. Or rather than having a sale to move old product, I've had stores use QR codes to do an auction and sell the opening bid being like a 50% cost sale price, but then they end up making more than they would have if they had just a 50% discount redline sale. So they recoup some potential lost revenue by making it a more interactive auction rather than a sale. So the creative marketing opportunities there. And that's it. Let's wrap things up with some Q&A for you guys. And I have, if you're interested in the book that we have written about this, there's a QR code right down there. The Scan to Shop solution is the book. And you can see on that one, there's a frame and it says scan me. That's one way to customize the look of that. And then the teal one, I've changed the color and put my logo for my jewelry business, Phone Me Later, down there. You're welcome to scan these to see how it works. If you open your camera, it pops up just a little banner of info that says, do you want to view this on a website? And you tap on it and it goes from there. So who has questions?
Hi, Alexa. This is Carl Muller. I make chocolate. Thank you for leading this topic. I just want to say that this is very inspiring. There's so many applications for it. Have you found any ways that you've used the QR code that just absolutely didn't work for you? When QR codes first came out, customers were really reluctant because the camera didn't, it didn't integrate well. You had to have special software. And so we tried it and it just didn't work. And I understand the functionality has changed, but have you used it in the store in ways that you thought would work that just didn't?
So we initially put it out there as just like, everybody knows how this works. This is going to be just like goldmine overnight. And we had our first Scan to Shop sale within a week of putting them up, and I had done zero advertising. So I like to say this, like, a completely new way to shop was successful within a week without doing anything to educate people on it or talk about it or advertise it. It just made me extra money without doing anything. But it was not as successful as it became once we had put up an additional information and signage explaining how to do it, because it's sort of just, they need that call to action to push them to like, oh, if I scan it, it's not just going to like tell me some information. I can just start shopping online. Like, you kind of need to turn on the light bulb in their brain for that moment to happen sometimes. But it is, I read a piece very recently about QR codes. that something like 25% of people have scanned a QR code in the last year. So it's something that is becoming more and more readily done. And as far as like an application that has been kind of a weak performer, my social media scans, I was just looking at the QR code scans the other night to see what was underperforming, and they're kind of low and kind of out of place.
Interesting.
But I have seen growth in my social media channels, and but they're sort of what I'm the least interested in growing. I'm more interested in getting them to my website to make purchases or to get on my email list. So they're more strategically placed.
Awesome.
But you want to use them the way you want to use them and direct people to do it.
Right. So if I'm looking at your QR code here on the screen, on the page that you have up, the point here where it says like scan me, that call to action makes a difference.
Yeah, it's like anything. I think if you've done any research on copywriting and marketing, which I'm familiar with your delicious chocolate, so I think you guys do a great job with your email.
Alexa.
Just people need that extra little nudge, that call to action. So the tiniest bit of like scan me or taste me, something that's going to like really intrigue them. Like, ooh, I want to pull this out and see more, read more. Anything that's going to tell them what they can expect to find, or just to get them to take that action is what you want.
Great, thank you.
So Alexa, we have a few folks in chat asking questions, and I'll read out their questions, but if they want to add anything, they can unmute themselves and add extra context. Hallie asked, when did you implement your QR codes?
The first week of November, so November 4th or 5th. And then we had our first scan to shop by the 10th. So it was either the 4th or the 5th.
That was of last year, is that correct?
Yeah, so November of 2020.
And I am just looking at your website. Are you selling the book through your website too?
I was. So I initially put the book through my website. I wrote it in like the wee hours of the morning as a parent of a toddler with a business that was churning in Q4. So it was very quickly put together, and I wanted to just get this information out. And I had it through my website and then set up a separate website because it was just kind of commingling the information that was confusing for my customers or just shopping for jewelry. We're like, what is this book? I don't understand. So we have a dedicated website just for the book, and we're tweaking it because currently it's sold as like a package of the book and the kit of posters that we created to make this an easier system for retailers. But after we kind of worked with it longer, we see the value of the information for pretty much any small business. They don't, not necessarily retailers. So we're retweaking it to make it the book available as a standalone, and the book's going to be $10 by itself, and then the book with the poster kit is $30. So that's a change we're making in the next couple of days after we put this presentation together. It was like, this, really has an application for just about anybody, not just retailers.
Great. Nice. Well, thank you for commenting on that. I had some other questions in regards to, the back end and designing of, templates and building, sizing and shopping guides. Is that something that you do in-house with the design, or is that something that, of course there's coding templates for certain things. What has been best practice for you? Like, how have you navigated that, and how has that been implemented in your business?
So I use Canva, which you can create a free account, or a paid account is like $13 or something. And it's a really useful web design, graphic design site and tool. They have tons of templates and all kinds of free resources, or what's the word I'm looking for? Stock images that are included if you have a paid account. So that's how we created most of the graphics for the book and did the setup for the book. I created this presentation in Canva. I highly recommend it. And I'm not like a paid affiliate. I just think they're a great resource. So you can create lots of really great visuals through Canva and all kinds of different setups like that. I created a sizing guide just as a basic PDF that I included on my website and found it was useful to just put it right on the product page to help customers, but then to also include it in marketing. So if they're, somebody who likes to buy necklaces and they'd always wanted to buy rings, but they don't know what their ring size is, to give them a way to size themselves so I can open that door without having to meet with them, or some of my customers are all over the world, but making a tool for them to be able to take that question out of the equation. So you can make really basic information that just helps answer the questions they would have, to enhance their experience. Every positive, like, oh, I don't have to ask, is this going to fit? Am I going to need to return this? Is making a better experience and building a rapport for you and your customers.
Right. Yeah, I think that's super valuable. I mean, especially online shopping. I'm definitely more of a tactile person. I need to feel and, make sure that things will, fit right and not be too loose. So yeah, that's definitely another way to, be more proactive and target sales effectively. That was super helpful. Thank you.
So Molly Ray has a question. She says, thanks for the great presentation. When you create a QR code, do you get a PDF or a Jpeg that you use for your signs or postcards? So Molly Ray, feel free to ask more about that if you have it, but just the basic, is it a PDF? Is it a Jpeg, or can you choose?
I think you can choose. It's one of those two. But I'm pretty sure you have the ability to download what type of file, or if you have a file converter like Pixelmator or Adobe, you can just change what format it is. I'm pretty sure you get to choose.
So everyone's welcome to just put more questions in chat or raise their hand. Sammy just wrote, you can also get them as PNGs for a transparent background. So I had a question. So you're putting a little sign next to each product you want to sell, and you can direct to those individual products, correct? You're not just using a code that goes to your website and the person has to search the whole website to find that product.
Right. I've done it two ways. So I have some specific products are labeled with are featured by themselves and have their specific landing page. So right to this one particular necklace, or a display of stacking rings that are kind of mix and match are put together. And I made a small collection landing page that's all the stacking rings are put together, which I found that the more popular scans are displays that are grouped items. So like stacking rings are grouped together. I displayed a bunch of different post earrings in a collection, and a bunch of like solitaire necklaces that have different color options, but landing to like, oh, you're interested in post earrings? Here's all the post earrings. Those have been the most frequently scanned. So if you make a curated micro collection of something, so like Carl with chocolate, if it's a collection of all of these particular flavors grouped together in a package, those have been the most successful have been micro collection QRs.
And then have customers had questions about, how soon do I get this shipped to me? What's the whole process? So you're talking about a call to action saying, scan me, but I can also envision a customer saying, well, I need it by Mother's Day. Like, am I actually going to get it by then? Like those sort of questions. Do you just put that right up on your window? This is kind of how the process works, or do you kind of write out those instructions for people?
Yeah, because we opened this with this is a new concept, we have to kind of be upfront with information to help people understand, especially since we're not really here, that we need to put the information out there as in a virtual way. So we have a poster on the window explaining like new kind of store, here's how it works, made to order in your sizes, X, Y, and Z is all laid out there. And then it's reiterated on my website. So everything that is an objection overcoming question, you want to like bake into your website and to factor into the signage putting together to explain how, if you're doing literal window shopping, how it works. If they're going to be able to buy on the spot and you pick up in an hour, or if it's made to order and they pick up later, or if you ship to them, just to give them a quick summary of how it works.
Thank you. Does anyone else have questions they'd like to ask Alexa? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions or pop it into chat. Stacy says, how many in total QR codes do you have on your website?
I have, I've maxed out my dynamic code account at 50. So 47, I believe, of them are on the door, or between the windows and like social media links and my MailChimp link on the door.
Mm-hmm. So you don't feel there's a possibility of overloading people with too many things to scan or look at? Because I could imagine, you know, somebody saying there's just too much here, but you find that between the QR codes and your product, if you display it in a way that feels accessible, it doesn't overload people.
Yeah, so we set it up kind of like a version of like a really fancy vending machine. So our shelving that we put into the windows makes sort of compartments to help separate and individualize styles. And then there's a uniformity of QR codes are at the bottom. And there's a quick little bit of information about like the name of the product, what kind of metals are included, and that it's made to order in your size. So like the very basic information that you need to say, like, I want to find out more. I want to buy this necklace. Mm-hmm. You've already overcome the first couple of questions to get them to the warm lead place and move forward with it and scan. So I have a small bit of information.
Mention price. Do you put price right on there as well, or do you?
So no, prices we put inside the store. Our QR codes are on the outside of our windows for easy scanning with like vinyl decals, and then little paper tents with our pricing inside. I actually just did a price increase, so I didn't have to change my QR codes for the price increase. I just had to change the paper pricing. I see. So don't put them on, don't leave pricing off your QR codes for that specific reason.
Yeah. So Barbara has a question. She said, do you feel like this technology is accessible to everyone, or is there a demographic in particular that it works the best for?
It's definitely the most readily accessible for people with the most updated smartphones. So there's a certain question about equity shop in using this method. If you, like I do, opt as this is your main sales avenue, you could have that friction of someone saying like, I don't have a smartphone. Why can't I shop with you a different way? And I say like, I absolutely welcome appointments over the phone. I welcome appointments in my store, but it has to be an appointment. It's not, I'm just not readily available for you because that's not how I want to live my life and run my business. So there is a certain friction that it is a newer technology, but it is something that as long as they have a smartphone, which a lot of people do, it's easily accessible that way. It was a good question.
I will continue to ask questions unless other people have them, but and so can you just tell me the trends around QR codes? Because I feel like, yes, like I saw QR codes a while back and like people didn't even really know how to scan a QR code. And I feel like they are starting to come back more. Like I am seeing them used more. And is that just a factor of people being more comfortable with smartphones and that sort of interface, or what are your thoughts around kind of the trends moving towards more companies using QR codes again?
Well, there is definitely a trend of it moving, becoming more widespread and adopted. Like if you look at any recent marketing from Vistaprint, they are pushing hardcore that people need to start using QR codes. So I take corporate notes. Like we kind of were shocked to realize that we were the first people to use this application for QR codes back in the fall. Because when we thought of it, we're like, this has got to be, you know, a thing that other people are doing. And when we found that we were the first to think of it, we're like, we need to share this information because this is like a really valuable tool. And that small business owners are so overwhelmed with just running a small business that adding a whole new sales, it's not really a channel, but a method is always like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. That it's just because of the fact that it's now natively part of smartphones, that's a huge barrier that's been cleared. But now it's getting people to understand that it's like a URL you take a picture of instead of typing it in. If you tell someone like you don't have to type in a URL anymore, I guarantee you people that are annoyed with typos will be ecstatic to just point their phone at something instead of having to type it in. Because you're also dealing with shortened attention span capacity with things like TikTok and like micro advertising. You have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention span before they could navigate away. So getting them to the exact content you're trying to give them as quick as possible is only going to help you and them have a positive experience.
So Stacy asked, she said she's looking through your website but doesn't see the QR codes. Do you use QR codes on your actual website, or is it only for in-person?
I haven't actually built them into my website proper yet, just because if they're already on my website, I've gotten them to take the action I wanted them to take in the first place. But some creative like marketing applications of QR codes, I've seen people making like keychains and including a free keychain with their QR code with orders. So it makes it so people can like readily reorder from your website. I haven't put them in my site because they're already down funnel.
Yes. Well, we've got about 15 minutes here left. Welcome any more questions anybody has for Alexa. I don't want to be dominating, but I'm just very interested in this application as well. I think, you know, I was talking to Alexa about the possibility of creating some Seattle-made window fronts in partnership with folks that have open window fronts now. And I just think it's a very cool way to be able to encourage people to shop locally while people are moving back to welcoming customers in-house. I guess that is one question. Do you think you've had particular success because you've had limited hours and so people have said, okay, you know, this is the way I access these products? Or do you think it could be just as successful with a store that has traditional hours?
I think it's both. I saw a spike last winter, shortly after we'd added QR codes that were directly across from a restaurant that shuts down at 7, and we started getting orders at like 7:15. That was clearly like they got their food or they finished their meal, they're a little full, a little drunk, and stumble across the street to buy some jewelry when they're full and happy. So there's absolutely space for you to capture additional sales for like the morning crowd, the evening crowd. We had my original storefront in Seattle had a bus stop right in front of it. And it's like, oh, if only we'd had this idea in 2014 when people are standing, waiting for the bus and could start shopping, because we had pretty limited hours then. And we did not have the same kind of people coming back in saying like, oh, I just needed to come in and shop, versus capturing the impulse in the moment of like, I love this necklace. I will get it in 3 days and it'll be mine, instead of like, I'll come back. We all know I'll be back. The percent of I'll be backs are not that high that actually come back. So you're alleviating the need of like, are they gonna come back? And people that are uncomfortable coming in stores. That's a very real thing, that people are still anxious and uncomfortable with returning to in-store purchasing. So being able to capture them before hours, after hours, or when they just don't really want to come inside.
So Hallie has a different question. Can you automatically get QR codes taken down when something sells? Are you able to adjust this on your end as a business owner?
So the QR codes are totally up to you where you leave them or put them. So if something sells through your website, as long as you have, a quantity of 0, it doesn't really matter if the QR code is still there leading to that product, because you can't sell something that's sold out. So if you track inventory through your website, that's kind of not a concern, but you can also just take the QR code off wherever you put it if it's leading to a product that's sold out and you don't have an inventory tracking. So if it's my suggestion, if it's a limited inventory product, I wouldn't widely spread a QR code with something that you can only sell, a few of. That's something that's good for a static QR code that you're not going to worry about trying to track, but you'd only want to put it in, a limited place, so it's not going to be leading to a product that you can't sell again.
So if you take that example and you have it in your window and it is a one of a kind and it sells out at 7 p.m. and then someone else looks at it at 8 p.m., does it just go to, and then it sells out on your site, is it just going to like a dead page then or something?
Well, like for Shopify, for me, if it links to that product page, it would still show on Shopify that it's an active product, but it would say like sold out, so they can't actually purchase it. And that actually kind of builds in a certain level of like FOMO for your customers. If they can't buy something that's shown in your window, they're like, once I buy, I want that. Like you're only building that like urgency need if it goes to something that's already sold. But you're
So
not.
were you saying if you have a product that's just your regular go-to, that's always something that you make, that is what you gear QR codes for? That's how I'm understanding it?
Yeah,
right?
that's how I've used it. My core collection is all QR'd up because it's something that I can sell and resell and reproduce.
Right.
And then I have a couple of like limited edition things also on display, but it's set up on my website that I can't sell more than I have inventory for. So I can have like a window that's all featured product and rotate that out. And then the majority of my windows are sort of static. They stay the same, or I rotate them occasionally. But you can do both, as long as you're setting your website up that you won't be able to like sell 2 when you only have 1.
Thank you.
All right.
Were we talking about dark storefronts? Were you and I talking about that?
Yeah.
Familiar with the concept. Some corporate storefronts or storefronts that are shifting from having traditional retail hours to online only. They're being labeled dark storefronts, that they keep their store and just do their fulfillment through it, but they're not letting customers in. This is like kind of the next hybrid option for dark storefronts, that you can have a storefront that you don't let customers in, but then utilize the store windows to be a showroom space, so that you create your storefront on the sidewalk, but then it's also something that customers aren't touching things or messing things up. You don't have to worry about that like sanitation in between people aspect. It's just letting them shop from the street any time of the day.
I could see it being really exciting too if you could get a bunch of other retailers in your neighborhood to do similar things, and you could really promote it as like kind of sidewalk sales, but window sales, I think there's a lot of applications where you could get really creative with your community around you too, to make something enticing for customers not wanting to go into stores, or even just like you said, like at night, like maybe it's maybe you're close to an art gallery that every first Thursday, you could do something that you're making sure you're capturing those folks walking around. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. I'm happy to have any more questions. Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up, unless there's anything else you'd like to share, Alexa.
I'm an available resource. If people have questions, you can certainly connect with me. Both of my social medias are there on the screen. I'm happy to see this expand. And if you want to be like, if you add literal window shopping, use the hashtag and I'll share content of your business. We just want to see this be widely adopted because it's been really wonderful for our business and really liberating to run a business this way and be able to prioritize the needs of our family and what works for us instead of having to kind of bend over backwards for customer schedules, because it's hard to live life and meet customers' demands in that way. So this is the road we've taken, and it's really, really great.
So cool, you figured it out. And do you have a picture anywhere on your site or on social where people could see an example of what your window looks like?
Oh yeah, so I've always done window displays, has been a big part of my business for a long time. So I use the hashtag foamy windows, but the most recent ones show the QR windows, and there's a little like virtual tour on my website and on my social medias.
Awesome. Awesome, thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Oh, we have one last question. Has window glare ever been an issue?
I mean, the best time of day is definitely like just after dusk, because the windows look like super bright and vibrant, like a fabulous marquee. And then in the mornings, it's kind of, it's the elements. You got to deal with whatever nature hands to you. I'm hoping we'll add like awnings to make it more of a weatherproofed experience for the rain. But nature is nature. Sure, there's glare.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're going to follow up with everyone that signed up with a recording of the session, and Alexa's going to share her presentation here. And then we'll also share the links that we mentioned in the event today. So would love to hear if any of you go the next step and create your own windows. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing what people pull together.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very helpful.
Good.